Greetings in the wonderful, wonderful name of Jesus. I last shared with you on being positioned for protection. And I then began to ponder what that actually looks like in the natural. And I want to say to you, it can look completely different for different people. The Israelites were positioned for protection with the blood of the Lamb on their doorposts, protected from the destroyer that was passing over. And the interesting thing is that when God sealed Noah in the ark, I'm pretty sure he also used bitumen or tar, which Noah had used to seal the outside and the inside of the ark. That word for tar in the Hebrew means redemption price. And so we know that Noah being sealed in the ark is also a type and a shadow of the Israelites sealed for protection with the blood upon the doorposts. So position yourself permanently under the blood and submerged in and hidden in the sound of the blood, beloved. Do you remember when Athaliah killed all her sons and her grandchildren in order to take the throne? Little Joash, the one remaining grandson who was hidden by his nurse, was positioned for protection and hidden in the inner part of the temple. And then he came out to rule openly as the true heir to the throne. But he was hidden in the day of the dragon in the form of Athaliah's flood. Joseph was hidden in prison until the appointed time of rising to rule. So you might feel that you're locked in and imprisoned, but perhaps God is hiding you and keeping you safe and positioned in the wings for the time of rising to rule. Joseph's family were hidden in plain sight in Goshen in Egypt during the remaining 5 years of famine. Lot, however, was positioned outside Sodom for protection. And the woman was positioned in the place prepared in the wilderness for protection. And then there were the disciples who were hidden in a locked room after Jesus was taken down from the cross and buried. They were hidden there for safety from the Jews because they were afraid. And Jesus manifested in their midst. So as you can see, there are many different scenarios in which position for protection can play out. So allow the Lord to do his positioning with you and with your loved ones as he has planned and as he sees fit. Don't try and carve out your own position. For protection, follow the blueprint he's written for you. Now, I want to discuss further about this week in between when God gave the transition command to Noah on the 10th of Cheshvan, that on the 17th of Cheshvan there would be a rain breaking out from above and below. Something very interesting happened the day after God spoke to Noah and gave him his final week of preparation instructions. On the 11th of Cheshvan, there was both a dying and a birthing. Two very important people died on that day in biblical history. The one was Methuselah. He was a time marker whose dying marked the end of a chapter and an age. And when Methuselah died, the day after God spoke those instructions to Noah to do his final preps, the books of Enoch had already safely been deposited with Noah. The books of Enoch were written for the end time generation. In fact, the very first verse of chapter 1 in the book of Enoch 1 says, "This is written." for the remnant who will live at the time of the end. So that's us, beloved. So Methuselah was tasked with storing and caring for the books of Enoch and passing them on like a baton to Noah. By the time Methuselah died on the 11th of Cheshvan, those scrolls that were for a generation far removed were safely deposited in the safe deposit box of the ark. And I want to say to you, beloved, remember I said there was going to be a season of accelerated impartation. Well, just like Methuselah passed the scrolls of Enoch to Noah, God has been depositing within the safe deposit box of your heart spiritual information and revelation that you may not have even read or opened up yet, because the Spirit has to shine light upon it and bring it to your mind. But I want you to know that God has deposited within you everything that you are going to need for the season ahead, for understanding and instruction. You already carry it within you. It has been handed over like a baton into your hand and into your heart. You know, when people go on a big passenger ship, if you can picture the scene of the gangplank and the passengers embarking, climbing onto the bark of the ship, all the luggage that they need for their journey and their destination is already stowed within the hold of the ship. That is what it is like with you. The other person, important person who died on the 11th of Cheshvan was Rachel. Rachel was the one that Jacob loved. And Rachel was the one who brought forth Joseph. Now, on the 11th of Cheshvan, her final assignment and birth pangs were completed, and the scroll of her life was about to be rolled up. She died in childbirth. And I want to read to you from Genesis 35, describing that. Verse 16, and they journeyed from Bethel, and there was but a little way to come to Ephrath, and Rachel travailed and had hard labor. And it came to pass, when she was in hard labor, that the midwife said to her, Fear not, you have got a son. And it came to pass that as her soul was in departing, for she died, she called his name Benoni, which means son of my sorrow. But his father called him Benjamin, son of the right hand. And Rachel died and was buried on the way to Ephrath, which is Bethlehem. So Benjamin was first named Benoni, the son of my sorrow. Now, when an Israelite son was born, or a child was born, for 7 days the child and the mother were set apart for cleansing. And then on the 8th day, the child was circumcised and named. So Benoni, the son of my sorrow, carried that name for 7 days. And then on the 8th day, the day of naming, the day of new beginnings, the day of circumcision and entrance into covenant, a covenant of provision and protection, he experienced a name change. And the sound with which his mother Rachel had released over him because of her hard labor, the sound and the frequency which said, Son of my sorrow, was cut off. And the voice of his father released his new name, Benjamin, son of the right hand. Now, what is very interesting is Rachel died and Benoni was born on the 11th of Cheshvan. The 8th day, when his name was changed, was the first day on which Noah dwelt sealed within the ark. Isn't that interesting? The sons of the right hand are birthed in a season of pain and sorrow for the bridal company. The sound surrounding and mantling them and seemingly giving them identity as sons of sorrow pervades the house for a whole week. They take their first breaths in the house of mourning, surrounded by weeping. And even now in this season, beloved, we're entering a time of great mourning and sorrow because of what is going on in the earth with the witch's brew. And many, many believers that have partaken of that will be passing away in the days and months that lie ahead. So the sons of the right hand begin their independent lives as sons of sorrow. Their first breaths are in the house of mourning, surrounded by weeping because of loss. The other thing the Holy Spirit shared with me is that the sons of the right hand will not be fed with the breast milk of the woman that brought them into the world. Their Father appoints them another source of nourishment. And for the sons of the right hand in this day, that nourishment is the sweet milk of the words of El Shaddai, the many-breasted one. He is the God of abundance, and he feeds us with the pure milk of his words. The sons of the right hand do not get raised on the same milk of the word that the Josephs drank from. That season of supply is over. Normally, a son would be under the tutelage of his mother until the age of 12, the age of transition to manhood, in which he would then come under the tutelage and the guidance and teaching of his father. But in Benjamin's case, he is cast upon his father from birth. The only voice of teaching and training will be words from the mouth of his father. Thus we can see in Benjamin's life the man-child caught up to the throne, to the right-hand side of the Father, in Revelation 12. When Noah was sealed in that ark, he was once and for all cut off from the former source of sustenance, from the former life, and from his former assignment. His assignment to build and prepare the ark for its voyage came to an end, and he was then carried and protected by the fruit of his years of labor and obedience in fulfilling God's instructions in the previous season. Rachel's assignment to build and carry the vessel that would become Benjamin came to an end, and she entered into rest. And the vessel that would be Benjamin was launched and named. But his father said that no, he would not carry the sound of sorrow and grief. He would not be known as a son who caused grief and sorrow. He would be a vessel lifted up and seated at his father's right hand, a son of whom it was later spoken when the prophetic blessings were given to the tribes, that Benjamin would dwell between the shoulders. That position of between the shoulders means being carried, continually carried by the Lord. Did Benjamin position himself in Goshen? No, he was sent for and carried there. Moreover, when the brothers all had the feast with Joseph in Egypt, Benjamin received a portion that was 5 times as much as his older brothers. Can you just picture his heaped up plate? My goodness. Talk about overflowing favor. Moreover, there was bestowed upon him 5 changes of garment. He would not just walk in one mantle, apostle or prophet, teacher, evangelist, pastor. He was the son of the right hand, the hand of power and rule. It is this hand, the right hand, which extends the scepter in the midst of God's foes. You read about that in Psalm 110. And you can read about the feast where Benjamin got 5 times as much on his plate in Genesis 43:34. And the place where he received 5 changes of garment is in Genesis 45:22. Benjamin, the son of the right hand, was lifted early to the throne. He was a son positioned as a man-child, in the position of being the apple of his father's eye. Benjamin was the one in whose sack was found the silver cup. That was a divining cup, which was used in a practice in Egypt to tell the future. Now, obviously, Joseph, as Pharaoh's right-hand man, received the silver cup. But Joseph did not have to indulge in the superstitions and the magic of Egypt in order to divine the future. He was a man in whom God gave understanding of dreams, and the spirit of knowledge and revelation and wisdom rested upon Joseph. So the silver cup appearing in Benjamin's sack indicates that the ability to know what was to come and to have understanding of the times was apportioned to Benjamin. Do you remember when John, the beloved, in Revelation chapter 4, received the call to come up here that I may show you what is going to happen in the future? There we see Benjamin, the son of the right hand. The 17th of Cheshvan was a heavenly marker. It was a day, a pivot point, when Noah entered into covenant protection. It was also a day in which the end of being the son of sorrow and the movement into being the son of the right hand happened for Benjamin on the 18th of Cheshvan. The 17th of Cheshvan was the day of judgment execution on the wicked. Can you imagine God having just finished sealing Noah with his own hand in the evening watch of the 16th of Cheshvan, and then he announced, "Now open the portals of the heavens and the fountains of the deep, and let them gush forth for 40 days." But Noah was sealed for protection. And Benjamin, the son of the right hand, received the seal of covenant circumcision on the 18th of Cheshvan. The week of sorrow, being the son of sorrow, was over, and the days of being the son of the right hand, sealed and protected in covenant provision and protection, had begun. May the Spirit of the living God, the Spirit who searches the deep things of God, reveal to you hidden things and greater things than I have even shared with you as you meditate on and look into the scriptures that I've shared with you this morning. Shalom.